Hi everyone, I'm sure some of you want to know if the PlayStation 5 will have backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, and the first PlayStation. Now what we know for sure is the PlayStation 5 will have backward compatibility with the PlayStation 4, but just keep in mind that not all games will be available from day one. Maybe some tweaks need to be made to certain games. So this of course will happen gradually over time, and more games will be added and be available on the PlayStation 5. Now regarding the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1, and we're not talking about a PlayStation Now streaming service, right? We're not talking about any streaming capability for supporting those games, but just whether the PlayStation 5 will support it natively. So I read really confusing opinions and predictions and other stuff, but nothing official. The thing is that we don't know yet. There's no official word about it from Sony whether the PlayStation 5 will support previous generation, which means PlayStation 3 backwards, PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 1. Now my assumption is because the PlayStation 5 shares relatively same architecture as the PlayStation 4, that this is why it's relatively easy to make PlayStation 4 be supported in the PlayStation 5. It's not true for previous generation, I think. So what I think is that we won't see native support for this, but we might see this available as a streaming service via PlayStation Now. Now, I know many of you want to play many classic games and you already have a big library of games, physical games that you actually want to play on the PlayStation 5, and you just don't want to keep the other consoles, just want to maybe sell them and just play, on your new console, on a single console. Just put the disc inside and just, have fun, and that's it with your game. But because I read about the compatibility of previous PlayStation 4 games, I think it would be much harder for PlayStation to realize compatibility, especially with different architecture on the PlayStation 5. So if they're having they said it will take time until they can make sure that all games are compatible with the PlayStation 5, and they're testing thousands of games, I think that it will might be an issue for previous generation games like the PlayStation 3, 2 and 1. Now the question is whether Sony can do something to solve this, or whether they need developers. So what I read, if they need contact with developers to make support for their games on PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 games, I think this should be the same in older generation games. And also, if developers need to do something about it, just imagine developer with older games putting effort in order to make their game available. I mean, those are like PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 games. I don't see it happen unless it's very easy to do this through a streaming service, but you don't need to do any modifications. Or again, I'm not sure about it. I mean, there's lack of information about this specific thing. Of course, it would be amazing if we can just put the chips of older generation. If you consider next generation technology, it might be very easy to fit the BIOS and all this the system that actually run those old generation games into the PlayStation 5. So you can have like an all-in-one, like PlayStation 1, 2, 3, and 4 inside the PlayStation 5. Although I think it's a sweet dream and a fantasy of many gamers who really enjoy some of the previous generation game that they haven't found them realized and remastered on next generation, but I think this maybe won't happen. Well, we can still be optimistic that maybe Sony have a surprise in its sleeve, and maybe even not in launch in the near future. We're going to see something step taken towards this. But I think Sony want to, on the other hand, Sony wants to make sure that many players subscribe to their PlayStation Now subscription service. So if it's easier to do it through the streaming service, and Sony wants to promote their PlayStation Now service, the best thing to do is just bring it to PlayStation Now, and that's it. But again, no official confirmation about this. I do hope, like you, that the PlayStation 5 will have backwards compatibility with all the other generations. I just don't see this happen, but I am optimistic. So again, thanks for watching, everyone. If you have an opinion about this, if you heard anything official that I haven't heard, any predictions, please let me know in the comment section below, and let's discuss this thing. So again, thanks for watching, everyone. Cheers.